I am dating a married man who is in an open marriage. This is what it's like. I never thought of myself as the kind of person who could be in an open relationship. The way I love has always been passionate and all-consuming. I give myself over to someone entirely, and I expect the same from them. When I am into the men I've dated weren't, but they loved flirting with other women, which means much of my romantic history has been filled with frantically scrolling through text messages at 3 a.m. Finding one in which so winsome a man I befriended more than a year ago told me flat out that he was in an and would like to have an affair with me. I laughed and turned him down. I was certainly attracted to Sam, but I knew I couldn't handle sharing someone's husband. Still, I began reading a book called bicultural anthropologist Wednesday Martin that challenges the long-held belief that we are all monogamous by nature. Martin argues that I found myself fascinated with the idea that could be liberating rather than soul-destroying. When I considered, I decided to have a conversation with a friend of mine who had been for many years, something I'd long struggled to understand. If you want all this, the goal isn't to do whatever you want, he said. With my ex-girl, that's interesting, I thought. I had never considered. One night shortly after that, my dog's stomach was upset and he woke me up 4 times in the middle of the night begging to go outside. Afterwards, I wondered if that, in a weird way, was the kind of selfless love my friend was talking about. And I wondered if a few weeks later, I went back to Sam and told him I was willing to give it a go with one condition. I want your wife's permission and I want to hear it from her, I said. Okay, he immediately took me to his apartment. When his wife answered, honey, she answered, smiling and taking another sip of wine, when you've been married for 30 years, you'll understand. For her. When I got up to leave, Sam told her he was going to walk me home. No, ever since that night, I decided to be on Sam's wife's team. I wasn't going to. Sam and I have been seeing each other for a few months now and, so far, it's the I've ever been in. He's kind. I am always surprised by how fine I feel about him having to cancel plans because something came up with his daughter, or by the fact that he can't stay over because he needs to go home to tuck her into bed. I respect that one night, Sam came over late and started complaining about his wife and what a relief it was to see me. I shut him down and I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of my mouth, but I had made a decision as to how I was going to handle this arrangement and I felt proud for sticking to it. Because Sam's wife has said that our affair has actually had a positive impact on their marriage. Apparently, I can't promise what the future will hold for me and Sam. Maybe the whole thing. When I talk to my friends whose marriages fell apart because of affairs, they always say, it's not the cheating that bothers me, it's the lie. The thing they tend to. I still believe I would be absolutely furious if I were committed to someone who didn't reveal that they were in another relationship or worse yet, married. But that wouldn't be big. Friends who know about my current situation often ask me if I am worried that I am going to end up wanting more. Frankly, people are also curious about whether or not I think being in an open relationship is the way to go. And they're shocked. And for more first-person relationship tales, check out related video Open Relationships, the possible issues and benefits, the doctors.
Raindrop, drop top, top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park,